In this lecture, we'll be studying about system programs. In the previous lecture, we studied about system calls, and we saw how system calls work. Now in this lecture, we'll be seeing what are system programs, and what are they used for. So an important aspect of a modern system is the collection of system programs. So in order to understand what the system programs are, and in order to understand where the system program resides in our computer system hierarchy, let us look at the diagram of our computer system hierarchy that we discuss in the very first lecture of this lecture series. So as we see, this is a diagram of our computer system hierarchy that we discussed in the very first lecture of this lecture series. So if we look at this, we find that in the lowest level, we have our computer hardware, which comprises of resources like the CPU, memory, and input-output devices. And just on top of that, we have the operating system. And on top of this operating system, we have the system programs. And on top of the system programs, we have our application programs, like the word processors, spreadsheets compilers, text editors, web browsers, and so on. Then we have the users here who are interacting with the systems. So what we are going to discuss today is about this system programs. So we see that system programs are just above the operating system. Now we will see what are the system programs and what are they used for. And we'll also see some examples of system programs. And we will also study how we can categorize our system programs into different categories based on the kind of task that they perform. So system programs, they provide a convenient environment for program development and execution. So the system programs, what they do is they are going to provide you with a particular environment which is convenient for program development and execution. So you will understand this when we take the examples, and some of them are simple user interface to system calls, while others are considerably more complex. Now we will see how we can categorize the system programs into different categories based on the kind of task that they perform. So system programs can be divided into the following categories. So we will see the categories one by one. The first one being file management. So the system programs that helps in managing your files, they fall under the category of file management system programs. For example, they helps to create files, delete files, copy files, rename, print or dump files, or list files. And in general, we can say that they help in manipulating files and directories. So the system programs that help in manipulating files and directories, they fall under the category of file management system programs. All right, now let's see what is the next one. So the next one is status information. So the system programs that fall under this category are those system programs that ask the system for its status information. Like for example, it can ask a system for the system's date and time. It can ask for the amount of available memory or disk spaces. And it can also ask for the number of users. And also it can ask for other details, performance, and also other complex informations like logging and debugging informations, etc. So all the system programs that are dealing with the status information of your system, they fall under this category of status information system programs. And then the next one is file modification. So these are the system programs that helps in modifying your files. So you may be thinking, what is the difference between file management and file modification? Because we have just discussed the file management in the first point. Now file management, they deal with the outer layer of your file. That means like creating your files, deleting your files, renaming, copying, moving, and so on. But file modification, it deals with modifying the inner content of your file. Alright, so if you want to modify the inner content of your file, for that you use a system programs which fall under the category of file modification. So we have several text editors which may be available to create and modify the contents of files stored on disk or other storage devices. And there may also be special commands to search contents of files or perform transformations of the text. So we see that if you want to modify the contents of your file, like modifying or transforming the text or anything like that, for that we have the system programs which fall under this category of file modification, which helps us to accomplish this task. Now coming to the next one. The next one is programming language support. So these are the system programs that provide you with programming language support. So there are different programming languages like C, C++, Java, Visual Basic, Perl, and so on. Now your system may have to compile and run programs that are written in this kind of different languages. So your system must have support for this programming languages, otherwise it will not be able to compile or run this kind of programs. So in order to give you support for this programming languages, there are system programs that helps in providing you with this programming language support. So there are things like compilers, assemblers, debuggers, and interpreters for common programming languages such as this, which are often provided to the user with the operating system. So these things are provided usually with the operating system so that your system will be able to compile the codes that are written in these languages so that your system works flawlessly, even if it have to compile some source code related to some programming languages. So the programs which gives you the support for this programming languages, they fall under this category of programming language support system programs. Now the next one is program loading and execution. So in the previous point, we saw that our programs were compiled and assembled using those system programs which fall under the programming language support category. Now after your program is compiled, it has to be loaded and executed. So in order to do that, there are some system programs that allows you or helps you to do that. So those are the system programs that under this category of program loading and execution. So it says once a program is assembled or compiled, it must be loaded into memory and executed. So once your compilation and assembly is complete, you need to load that program to memory so that it can be executed. So the system may provide you different kind of loaders in order to accomplish this task, like the absolute loaders, relocatable orders, linkage editors, and overlay loaders, and also sometimes debugging system for higher level languages or machine languages are needed as well. So debugging means whenever there is a problem in your code or in anything, you need to find out what is a problem and you need to solve the problem. So that is what we mean by debugging, and the programs responsible for this task is known as debuggers. So the burgers also may be necessary. So all these programs that helps in loading the programs and executing the programs, they fall into this category of program loading and execution system program. Now coming to the last one, we have communications. So these are the system programs that helps in communications. So even when we discuss our system calls, we had the system calls that helped in communications. So in the same way, the system programs that helps in communication between processes or users or allows users to serve the web and so on, these system programs, they fall under this category of communications. So these programs, they provide a mechanism for creating virtual connections among processes, users, and computer systems. And they also allow users to send messages to one another, screens, to browse web pages, to send electronic mail messages, that is your email, and to log in remotely, or to transfer files from one machine to another. So we see that all the tasks that are related to communications, that are the things that we're talking about here. So the system programs that help you in this communication processes, they are the ones that fall under this category of communications system programs. So these are the main categories onto which you can divide your system programs based on the kind of task that you perform. Now apart from the system programs, there are also other programs that are provided by the operating system in order to perform certain tasks. So as I told you, in addition to system programs, most operating systems are supplied with programs that are useful in solving common problems or performing common operations. So some examples of those are like your web browsers. You have web browsers like Mozilla, Firefox, Google, Chrome, and all, which helps you to browse the web. So this web browsers may be provided with your operating system. I'm not saying that specifically Mozilla, Firefox, and Google Chrome will be provided with your operating system, but based on the operating system you are using, one or more of the web browsers may be provided along with it. Like for example, in your Windows operating system, you have your Internet Explorer that is provided with your Windows operating system so that you can browse your web using that browser. So in the same way, there are word processors. So depending on the kind of operating system that you use and kind of the Office tools that is installed in your system, you may have the word processor installed in your system, which is used for processing your Word documents. Like for example, in Windows you have your Microsoft Word, and if you are using Linux and if you are having LibreOffice installed in it, you have your LibreOffice Writer, which is the word processing software or application in LibreOffice. And then you have spreadsheet programs like your Microsoft Excel in your Windows, and in LibreOffice in Linux, you may have the LibreOffice Calc. So those are spreadsheet programs, and then you may have database systems. So you can have database systems that helps in managing your databases. So they also can be of different types, like you have Oracle database, MySQL database, and so on. And then you may have games for your entertainment purposes, etc. So these are some other programs that are provided along with your trading system for the users to perform certain tasks. So keep in mind that these are not system programs, but they are application programs. So once again, I repeat, these are not system programs, but these are application programs which are provided along with operating system for the users to perform certain tasks. Alright, so let us just have a quick recap of the system programs, which was the main focus of this lecture. So what were the categories of system programs that we discussed? So the categories of system programs we discuss in this lecture are file management, status information, file modification, programming, language support, program loading and execution, and communications. So these are the categories to which we can divide our system programs. So I hope this lecture was clear to you. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.